Today, there are an estimated 47 million immigrants in the United States, representing 14.4% of the U.S. population. Of this number, about 364,000 U.S. residents of Pakistani descent currently live in the United States. In Italy, there are 5 million immigrants, representing 7.5% of the total population. Of this number, about 118,000 immigrants are of Pakistani descent.
There are multiple reasons why people leave their home country. Some of these reasons can include a desire for a better lifestyle, seeking new job opportunities, and escaping crime and violence. According to the Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis and Human Research Development, approximately 7.6 million Pakistanis live abroad.
My dad, Daniel Sequeira, was born in Karachi, Pakistan in September of 1957. He immigrated over to the United States with his parents and 5 siblings in March of 1973 when he was only 15.
We interviewed Daniel to learn more about his experience in Pakistan as well as his journey to the United States and how his life changed. Being that Pakistan is a mostly Muslim country, how was your experience living there as a Christian?
Overall, it was fine. I went to Catholic schools with many Muslim kids because those were private schools and much better than the public schools. But socially, we hung out with mostly other Catholics, which was a little bit difficult because most Catholics in our city, Karachi, lived in a place called Catholic Community where all the Catholics banded together, I guess safety in numbers. And it was several miles from us, and we didn't live there. We lived among Muslims, and transportation to and from was a bit tricky.
How were you treated as a Christian compared to Muslim men?
We were a little bit of strangers in our own country because we were a small minority who didn't speak the native language, which was Urdu, and also because of our religion. But broadly speaking, I don't remember being badly treated because of it.
Did you experience any discrimination in Pakistan?
Not discrimination per se, just fights with Muslim kids in school, but really not much more than that.
In Pakistan, were you treated differently from the boys in your classes?
Did many Muslim boys, as I previously mentioned. It was a boys' school. Everyone was treated pretty much the same by the priests and the nuns who taught us, and some lay people too. It wasn't all clergy.
Did you ever experience Muslims in Pakistan trying to convert you to their religion?
No, never experienced that.
Describe your experience traveling over to the U.S.
We came over first class in a 747, my whole family, that is, except for me. I gave up my seat to my grandma, who lived with us, and not being a member of the immediate family, she wasn't getting a first class seat paid for by my dad's company, American Express, who was transferring him to the U.S. How nice am I? On the way over, we stopped in Rome for a few days and stayed with nuns by the Vatican before coming to the U.S., which was a trip because they gave us wine at every meal, including my sister, who was 7 years old at the time. I don't remember being terribly sad saying goodbye to my friends in Karachi.
What was the reason you and your family left Pakistan?
The main impetus for us leaving was that my parents saw that the growing influence of Islam on the culture, even back then, and as Christians, that there wouldn't be many employment opportunities for us as adults.
When you first arrived in America, what were your initial thoughts and feelings?
It was overwhelming. Everyone dressed like us and spoke English like us, but were not the same as us, and the food and the stores, etc., were amazing. We stayed in a hotel in New York City from March through the beginning of school, August, September, and being in that city with so much going on was just sensory overload all the time.
Was it difficult to integrate yourself into American culture?
Not until I started school in the fall. Everyone wants to fit in as a kid, and I didn't. And to make it more difficult, my brother Philip and I were the only non-whites in this bedroom community regional high school. And to add to it, we were skinny and non-athletic. I like to say I had a superpower. I was invisible to girls. So we didn't have many friends, and we got into quite a few fights.
Was it easier to practice Christianity in America?
We didn't really have trouble practicing Christianity in Karachi, but it certainly felt better to be surrounded by people who practice the same faith as us here.
Did you experience any discrimination in America?
I did and do experience subtle discrimination to this day, from being pulled out in airport lines for extra security, to my friends in my neighborhood and at work still making racially tinged jokes because they don't really see me as American, even though I've spent the vast amount of my life here, 47 years versus 15 in Pakistan. I've also experienced more overt racism. I've had several run ins with the police over my lifetime here, mostly because of my skin color. But thankfully, that was when I was younger, and that's diminished for quite a few years now.
How has the discrimination changed over the years?
Well, because I'm married to my lovely white wife, and I move for the most part in white social circles, and because I'm older, the overt racism has declined. But I have to say, overall, I've always had, and I think I always will have, the feeling that I didn't quite belong in the country I came from.
During the semester, we had the chance to listen to a guest speaker named Aroji explain her experiences in Italy as an immigrant from Pakistan. Growing up in a small Christian village in Pakistan, she faced several hardships as a young girl. She wanted to go to college, but soon realized it was a problem for her because of her gender and her religion. Her parents told her that in order to go to college, she had to join a convent to become a nun. When she was finally able to attend college, she was the only Christian out of 55 Muslim girls. She was repeatedly placed in the corner of the classroom because she was labeled unique, and every day the teachers tried to get her to convert to Muslim. They refused to teach her until she changed her religion. Aroji was forced to read the Quran and pray in Arabic 5 times a day at school. At home, however, she read the Bible, which made it difficult for her to distinguish between the two books.
Oroji immigrated to Italy when she was 17 and has been in this country for 5 years. She applied for an Italian visa and got rejected by Italy numerous times, but thanks to her uncle who works in the Italian court, she was able to get help getting an Italian visa. If it wasn't for her uncle, she stated that it would have been impossible for her to immigrate to Europe, especially since Pakistan also refused to give her a visa, letting her leave as well. In Italy, she works for the police as an interpreter. She finds it scary to perform this job because she thinks people from Pakistan will find out that she is helping the police. Due to this fear, she does not like walking home at night by herself. Roji also works with refugees and says the job is not too good or too bad, but equal. She claims it is hard for her to help them sometimes because when Muslim boys ask her for help, she finds it difficult because she remembers what Muslim boys did to her in Pakistan.
She is currently getting her master's in Italy and plans to go back to Pakistan for 3 to 6 months to teach Christian women. Every day when she goes to bed, she thinks about going back to Pakistan to help her parents. She claims it will be very difficult to go back because she is a Christian woman studying philosophy, which is frowned upon in Pakistan since philosophy encourages people to open their minds to new ideas, and that is not what the country accepts. She speaks to her mom on the phone about 2 times a week. Every time they talk, her mom starts to cry because her and her husband are still facing discrimination from Muslims due to their religion.
Overall, Daniel and Oroji share similar experiences because of where and how they were raised. Because they are both Christians who grew up in a mostly Muslim country, they encounter difficulties due to their backgrounds. Unfortunately for Oroji, her gender caused her to suffer more problems than Daniel, such as treatment from Muslim boys and being forced to go to a convent in order to go to school. Both Daniel and Oroji find it difficult to discuss in detail their experiences in Pakistan, but find their lives to be much better and more successful in the United States and Europe. Their journeys to their respective countries occurred when they were both teenagers, an age where people are still developing and finding out more about themselves. Although they both believed it was overwhelming to have to settle into a completely new culture, especially at their age, they were able to integrate themselves even though it took some time.